raise to 450.
And here go these two again.
Call.
Well, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Jensen with position Ivey, but do you really ever have position on Phil Ivey?
Yeah, the position you're in most of the time is fearful.
Exactly.
Ace-10 suited, smothering the ace-9 suited, but on a paired flop, many avenues to a chop present themselves. Ivey follows through. Jensen showing that he doesn't need to hit the flop to take a turn.
Very nice, and just like I mentioned earlier, with Ponikoffs, Jensen might want to take one off to see if it slows down the aggressor. He takes one off, and let's see what Ivey does.
Check. Check.
Couple of checks. Now the queen on the end, and the ace-10 will play.
I wish Jensen had taken advantage of that. It's easy for me when I've played with Ivey, obviously in limit non-hold'em games, and he scares the heck out of me. Jensen will take down the pot with a check on the turn on the river. He summons that rail, which appears to be at least 8 people.
Late with this guy.
550.
Raise 550.
Like he's a recreational, but I don't know what to expect.
On check with a good hand, 15 blinds.
Ace-4 suited, a double check from Ben Heath, as is prudent. Confirmed, 2 10s are present, and now they're on their backs. Heath saying good luck to Mike.
Monchek seems to be doing the old let's wrap everything up into the backpack just in case.
But he's not standing up
No.
and giving it the full
I'm glad he's not.
reverse.
It's pretty good for me.
Monchek only had 15 bigs to start the hand.
I've heard better calls. Their first time railing, you know.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Here comes the flop.
If you're gonna cheer for something, you might as well cheer for dead on the floor.
Yeah.
8-7 deuce with a couple of clubs, and the light begins to flicker in Camp Monchek. Turn does not help. Flush draw was never available. So it is just 3 outs once for young Mike, or the dream is over. Here in event number 42. Is there an ace in the deck?
Good luck, guys.
Good game, man.
Wasn't
No.
just limp call?
Board pairs on the river. And I'll tell you what, parlay successful. 400.
No, I always thought a reality show with him is just stone cold winner.
You know, way back in the day, as we see Jensen open the button with the ace-jack suited, running into Ben Heath's 2 queens in the big, this could be trouble. There was a show called The Life of Ivey that was part of the Poker Road Radio Network.
I do remember that. That was very interesting,
It
actually.
was back in the flip cam era, before all the smartphones were around with cameras in them, and I'm not going to say it was a vlog. I don't know how much of the content was Ivey recording himself, but
1.65.
it certainly was heralded
It was
back at the
interesting.
time, because any glimpse into Ivey's personal or private life beyond what you could find through, you know, chip counts and updates and whatnot was as sought after as anything in poker.
All him.
Oh my goodness. Heath, 3-bet to 1.65, and again, verifies that his man said all in, which he did. And Ben will make the call. Greg Jensen, at risk of elimination here.
Boy, he was sitting comfortably just a few minutes ago.
Well, to be fair, he was the one that adjusted his seating position in this pot from comfortable to at risk.
You got it. Pushed here with about 20 bigs, and he hit a really bad spot with Heath with the pocket queens.
An 11 million chip pot. The winner will slide into second. Overall, Heath already there. I take it back. Heath would become the chip leader. It is Jensen who would slide into second, but there's an uphill climb here As 2 7s and an 8 are joined by a 5, and the necessary ace is as yet absent on the board. 3 outs, 1 time to keep the dream alive for Greg Jensen. Queen, stand up. No, be seated.
Game. Nice playing with you guys.
But be proud. As Greg Jensen gave it his all. Sort of a live and die by the sword approach, I would imagine, had been employed en route to this point. 571,000 plus. Heath thinking it over. And now, Ivey, what a perfect time to wake up with 2 kings. Because it could look squeezy with a limp on the button, a flat in the small blind. Maybe the free money is out there. Let me shoot it up and find out. And as such, Ponikoff certainly isn't going to assign automatically the upper crust of the deck like 2 kings to this move from Ivey, and indeed might even play back at him. Who knows?
In fact, this might have been what Ponikoff was originally intending, and so he would play back at him.
A7 suited, a good hand. 3-way.
He just met Ivey for the first time a few months ago in Madrid. Just calling here. First time he had played with Ivey briefly.
King 10-9 rainbow top set for Ivey. Somewhat unfortunate texture insofar as it doesn't include a whole lot of attraction for Ponikoff's A7 suited. Just that 9 of spades working at present. $2.5 million out there. Bet sizing. Looks like 3rd pot. Yeah.
Good fold.
Texture just too dissuasive. So meanwhile, Ivey opening the button to 550,000, and there's a big spoonful of Ben Heath medicine being deployed out of the big blind. 3 bets to 185. Another 1.3 to call off of the 7.9 remaining. And Ivey is going to make the call.
So his 6th sense a little off today. We saw when he was 3-bet by Jensen. Ivey folded the better hand in that pre-flop spot. Here he's 3-bet by Heath, and he's going to call with the lesser hand.
But he is going to flop a club draw. 10-6 deuce. 4 million in the middle.
That's a big spot for both of them.
$1.25.
That is certainly not going to shed Ivey. Very small continuation bet.
.3 in the middle. How is Ivey going to navigate here? Because obviously you can pick up some fold equity, not against aces, but by putting in your raise here, but off of this 6.6 million stack.
All in.
The sizing would have to be all in. Ben Heath going to double check, I would imagine, and flick in the call. So here we go. Phil Ivey's tournament life at stake here.
Good luck, Phil.
Ben Heath again with a sporting good luck being issued. We're playing a 17.2 million chip pot.
And he's just a clean board away from going heads up for his second bracelet. If he can knock out Phil Ivey here.
4 of clubs on the turn leaves Ben Heath drawing dead. River will be inconsequential given Heath has no club.
What was I thinking he was going to knock him out? Who was I kidding?
So down go the aces and up goes Phil Ivey's chip count to over 17 million as he will emerge the chip leader when the dust settles.
All in.
All in?
What is that?
I think it's around 3.2, 3.3.
Now we don't know what Ivey has. He's asking for a count though after Heath moved all in with this ace-8 suited. So could there be a hand class that he is ready to spin the wheel with? Hidden from view at
3.3.
present.
All in.
Does he have a pocket pair? Or does he have 2 suited paint cards? Can't believe he'd be thinking about this just with like a king-queen suited.
Call.
He does make the call. Heath will
And
be
what
at
are we
risk.
looking at?
What are we looking at?
Still don't know.
Big ace, pocket pair. And he did make it with, I didn't think he'd make this call.
Queen Jack suited, 44% equity heading to the flop in a 7.2 million chip where Ben Heath's fate hangs in the balance. Not a good board for Phil, and he knows it.
Is some of me rubbing off on Phil? I'm really surprised by this call.
Turn card is the Queen of Diamonds.
I'm not surprised by that. What was that?
Improbably, Phil hits his 6-outer and now puts the pressure back on Ben Heath, who has 3 outs to stay alive. And the 9 of hearts is not among them. Ben Heath,
Thank you.
always classy. Couple of fist bumps. Might be wondering to himself whether or not that Queen Jack suited needed to look him up.
It did
And
not.
once it did on that flop, thinking now's the double. But
Phil,
Not to
Phil,
be.
Phil.
you and I, comedically speaking, high volume,
High volume.
low margin.
Low margin.
Ivy,
700.
The opposite.
very low margin, but he gets a wicked ROI.
Yeah, he's one of the best.
Queen 9, standard open. Ace 4, defends.
Speaking of a record ROI and what stuff is said, when Ivey won his first bracelet 22 years ago, he won heads up against Amarillo's Slim, who was wicked funny. And that was Amarillo Slim's last World Series final table ever. One era went out, a new era came in.
That 500.
Top pair, good kicker.
16.
Oh, and Ponikov's deciding that he wants to ask questions, and for Ivey, it's not a bad development. Queen 9, a lot of hand on this board.
By the way, I guess they're giving Ponikov some rope here on terms of when he verbalizes his bet. When he says 13, he means 1.3 million. When he says 16, he means 1.6. He has 18 million, so 16 could mean 16 million, but they understand what he means.
7 of hearts taking a bit of a garden hose to this board. Ponikovs does pick up the heart draw.
Oh, that means it makes the board wet when it's a garden hose?
Yeah.
How come I've never heard you say that before, and I'm sure you
It's the
have?
first time I've ever said it.
Seriously, because I've never heard you say that before.
Yeah, I've never said it before.
Because it stopped me in my tracks. You know, it took me 5.5 years to get out of a bad higher educational institution. So when you said garden hose, I had to think about it. Here we go.
Happy to awaken those synapses, Norman. So a check back from Ivey, given that Ponikovs did check raise that flop, and that 7 of hearts was of some discomfort. Now, the deuce of spades is a desiccant.
Is a what?
A desiccant.
Now, see, I can guess what a desiccant is, but I don't know.
It is something that removes moisture.
I would not have guessed that.
So the flop is
275.
dried by that card.
Is there a
the board,
word
rather.
to remove you that you know of that I would not be familiar with?
Defenestrate.
Defenestrate would do it.
You could throw me out of a
Why
window.
did I think of that?
And look at this ambition being shown by the Latvian. 2.75 million. And for Ivey, the calculus largely will hinge on whether or not Ponikovs got there on the turn and got cued. What frequency is that the case? The deuce feels like it's just not a part of his check raising range. Maybe there are some overpairs
I mean,
involved.
you know, it could have been an ace-deuce suited.
10 seconds.
But why would he check raise that flop?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. As you said, Ponikovs could have gone cute checking the turn when he got there. It does happen. Never seen that exact body language from Phil Ivey before.
10 seconds.
And he makes the call.
Ace high.
What do you?
Ace high.
And Ivey has shot him not one but two looks, as if to say, really, buddy? And with that, Ivey will ascend to the chip lead. There were Jack X, King X, flushes, all available to Phil. And the counterfeited 7s and 4s decided to just jam it.
And that was for his tournament. He did not have Ivey covered.
Here he has top pair against a diamond draw. Ivey made it $1 million to go. Blinds at 200, 400,000.
$1.2 million.
.2 the bet in position. Alex calls. Another 2.4 in the middle now. 4-8 total. 9 will add outs to Ivey's queen jack as he picks up the gut shot. 10 or a diamond needed. It also, for Ponikovs, presents an open ender. 10 would of course be no good. Second check from Alex, and will Ivey check back and realize equity? Or tell a tale?
10 seconds.
The tail is always more interesting.
$2.6 million, north of half pot, as Phil sets him up for 3 Street bluff. A But we know Alex isn't going to fold here. It's hard to flop a flush. It's hard to flop a pair, let alone top pair. And in case of emergency, barring being up against diamonds, we do have the straight draw. So the call is made. 5.2 more into the middle, and we play a 10 million chip pot. And the river pairs the king, giving Alex trips. And he slips it over to Phil. The original plan did feel like unimproved. Ivey would be looking to bluff. But we do reserve the right to change our minds.
10 seconds.
Yeah, he'd be well advised to change his mind, but no doubt that was the original plan.
King.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
Check back from Ivey.
10 seconds.
And he makes the call.
Ace high.
What do you have?
Ace high.
We raise. 28. Our part of it, 2.8.
Alex makes the call, and neither player hits this flop. Jack-7 trade 2 hearts.
10 seconds. Check.
Ivey checks it.
Well, I'd like to see Alex
10
bet.
seconds.
I'd like to see Phil check raise.
Check.
I can't even get into it. They're going to check on my
9
watch.
on the turn, and Ivey now has an open ender. Ponikovs has made second pair top kicker. 6 million still up for grabs.
Checking.
Phil checking a second time. I think it is safe to assume that Alex is going to
Assume nothing, but you are correct.
bet this.
Yes, he is going to bet this, I assume. Maybe.
10 seconds.
3 million.
Half pot.
3 million. 3 million is the wager.
All in.
Oh my goodness, a check jam from Phil Ivey here on the stone cold come with 8 high. Risking his tournament life. Alex
Exactly.
wants a count with this ace-9.
Can it work? Will it work?
8 and 8. 10.
It's actually 11. He's miscounted it, for what it's worth. And this certainly would have worked if this is not pair Ponikovs. And it still might work. But an all-in shove bluff? Wow.
10 seconds.
Call.
Alex says call and now is poised to pick up the bracelet if he can fade a 5 or a 10. Just like that, suddenly we play for it all. Over $700,000 in prize money, separating first from second. And that is the cash value of this play.
We We have seen Ivey get it all in on the wrong end of it a few times here tonight. He's going to have to get lucky again here to stay alive.
And he doesn't do it. The 8 pairs Phil. And the Latvian has his second.